Hi. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I wanted to come do a reading because I haven't posted in a while and I usually do things. I wouldn't even say usually. It's just that I had gotten into a habit of, I would say, I don't know if the right word is formal, but like I can definitely focus on perfection or making things nice and neat, like with slides and stuff like that or whatever. But it's partially because I feel like I spent a lot of my life being so incredibly misunderstood in a specific way that I feel like for safety and security reasons I resorted to certain ways of expression that you could say they worked at the time that I needed them to, but things are shifting, things are changing. I'm sure you feel similarly. So, okay, I'm gonna do a reading. I don't know which decks I'm gonna pull from, but what I'm gonna do is kind of just not one from all of them. Sometimes I'm like, well, they all deserve attention. But what I just decided I was gonna do is pull some from ones that I feel called to, but just probably one from the ones I feel called to. And then I mean, really, like what I believe is we don't need any of these things, and I mean, maybe we want them, maybe we need them, whatever. But part of what I'm saying is like I feel like yeah, I can use cards, but something I've been playing around with also is I have these raw pieces, or they're not raw, they're what are they? They were, I forget the term, but like they're glossy, but it's because of like a certain kind of wash with water or something. I could be totally making that up. But they were sold to me as the, what is it called? Super 7. I don't really think this is, this looks like a lot of amethyst. And there are other, this looks like a lot of citrine, whatever. Doesn't really matter to me though. What I am saying that I'm doing is I have them and I'm just gonna kind of move them around in my hands to, you could say, assist me in channeling this energy. Not like I'm channeling it willy-nilly from anybody, but just for the sake of communicating and recording this. And like I said, me sort of stepping out of this way that I've been doing things for a while. Okay, so let me choose these decks. Okay, one, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. Let's start there. No, I think I'll choose three from the one deck because it's those tea leaves. Not gonna look at it. Cards. There's 200 of them. I'm just choosing from the tea leaf ones though, not the Astral House. If you're familiar with the deck, this one. This is the first deck I chose from. This will be the second deck that I choose from. Just one from this deck. Okay. And I'll do two more decks. This one, the Anatomy of Healing. I'm also trying to not do a super long reading. Not like I'm trying to rush it, but like I said, I'm in a process of really honing in on certain habits that I have. And I'm sharing all of this not just to overshare, but because there's probably a collective theme, if you will, that's about. Um, but there's many ways we can do things. But are we doing what we really want? And are we doing something? This has been a theme for a little bit, you could say forever. Are we doing things that we like to do, or are we maybe doing something that we have gotten applauded for and we're good at it? So it's like, well, why not? I'm gonna put on some lip gloss because I want to. I don't know if I've shared it on here, but I went so many years. Okay, it was like you could say 20, 2012, 13, 2013, 2014. Yeah, 2014. So only so long, but that's when I started to try different ways to eat and approach my health and make all this logical sense of things. Like I've gotten blood tests and they've told me all my sensitivities and all these things. And what I'm trying to express is that for a while I didn't wear makeup. And I'm in this funny space of, well, I think it's funny, just buying whatever. Not like you could say I'm a Taurus. Maybe I should be mindful. Okay, we don't have to make it astrological, but I'm in my luteal phase. If you can relate, the week before your period-ish, week-ish before your period, that's really when I am like, I'm just buying. Theresa, just buy whatever you want. You deserve it. Um, but I am sharing that because I just put on some lip gloss and I put on some makeup. And I think I mentioned it on, I think it was the last video. I think it's like been a month that I've done a video, but pretty sure I put on some makeup and I mentioned it then. And it's partially because, yeah, like I don't give a, let me stop myself from saying that. I think we all care to some degree what people think of us and what we care what others are doing. However, we don't need to be so we don't need to assume and make projections. We can like slow it down a little bit, ask some questions, get to know people if you want to. If you don't have the space and the time to get to know someone, maybe reel it in. I don't know. All right, so let me grab, maybe I didn't even need to grab these. That was it. No, okay. So for the sake of me doing a reading like this, I'm not calling anyone in, but I do like to, let's say, I maybe could have done this in the beginning, and maybe time isn't linear, so we've already done it. But let's call attention to it and recognize it, acknowledge it. Um, Maybe focus on your heart space and breathe in. And when you breathe out, imagine some type of shape surrounding you. It doesn't have to be an egg or a sphere or a Merkaba, whatever you want, whatever you feel right now. But let us also call upon the energy of the crystals that are in here, whatever the ones that are actually in here. We don't need to name them all. We could name amethyst and citrine. We could acknowledge the geometrical structures that they hold and carry and ask for them to mirror outward any energies that we don't need to necessarily be focused on for this reading, and then also structure the space, formless container of sorts, because I'm here and you're wherever. But let's also call in I was thinking I would pull one other card. So this will be kind of like the theme. I'll do a flower card and we'll ask this flower to also be here with us as some sort of ally, support, but just for the sake of not wanting to call in like ancestors or guides or protectors that have very specific themes or that we have specific connections to. So this is more, you could say more general, and you may have a personal connection with amethyst or citrine or the super seven or pitcher plant. Oh, it's very funny that pitcher plant came up. It's been a theme since the eclipses of last September. So maybe that's partially what we're playing around with. I'll read what this card is. I'm going to plop it back in there. But okay, so asking pitcher plant and wait, hold on. What is the word there? Insight. Okay, to relay insight for what this space is for this time. So you just hear me rolling these around in my hands. Hmm. Okay, so I feel like it's partially why I'm doing this reading and doing it in this way, unplanned, but inspired. Um, I will share more about this in some other videos because it would take up more time, and I'll share it in like a series, you could say. And I've mentioned it. I've said I was going to do it, but I have this habit of being like, yeah, I'll do it soon, and then like 4 months will go by and I'll be like, maybe now is soon, I don't know. And part of that you could say is like, I'm thinking something over, but I feel like that's sort of an excuse. And it's more so like I feel like when people say like don't look for safety or comfort, that's where you stay stagnant. But is that real safety or comfort? I feel like if you have like genuine and authentic safety and comfort, it's not about like being in this place where you're lying to yourself or you're numbing yourself or whatever these stories are. And I'm not saying they're wrong or bad, but um there's something to uh okay, so I'm gonna do like I was just thinking about what I was just thinking about with these crystals and the reading, and then I was just going back and forth. Okay, so what I was just saying was that I am going to discuss a little bit more my own story because some of what I say might not make sense to you if you don't know me at all, and you do not need to know me. That's fine. You don't even need to know the story, but I'm just saying that I've got a niche perspective. I think we all do. But I think partially what I'm saying is I am almost always like, we're all great. And then I'm waiting for other people to all be awesome and do their thing. But then I am like, not me. I will keep waiting. So I just gotta shine or whatever. And part of what I'm saying is that I had this experience when I was 1 year old, and I was 15 months old to be exact. I don't know exactly when. My family doesn't remember when this trip was, but we were on a trip in Indiana. And I had this moment where I feel like I was struck with the sunlight, and it is when I also opened back up to a part of myself that maybe had been turned off or a little bit forgotten or numbed since my birth. Because I do remember being in the womb, bits and pieces. And when I hear stories in my life and over the years about being in my mom's belly, I'm like, yeah, and again, I will get into those longer stories in another video. But I knew that moment at age 15. I mean, it might sound crazy, but I would say most of what I know now, if not all of the values and morals I still have, which, judge me if you want for that, good or bad, whatever. But um, there's things that I knew about my role here, if you will, or my life path. And at that age, what I called it was my mission. And so it's funny because I'm not I attended church when I was younger, but I'm not from like an extremely religious or, like my dad's into politics and stuff. And, like there's all these ways things sway, but it wasn't super extreme where someone was influencing me heavily. It was more like I was left alone a lot. um, so up to my own, devices and like thoughts and theories and ideologies. And so, without going into all of that, something that I knew I had to talk about then somehow, some way, and it's not like I am relaying something people don't know, but maybe it's something that, there are certain things here that I feel like get pushed to the side and dismissed. They're like not so fun. They're kind of boring. But it's interesting because it feels like a spell, kind of like how people don't always like animals or children, and it might be because of the sense of presence that they bring because you got to pay attention to them right now. Stuff with our own self we can put off, especially as we get older. We can learn to dissociate in ways where it's not always unhealthy to dissociate. However, um, I do really feel like there are things that we build. I just call it unspoken, even though some of it is spoken, and much of it is maybe at times in certain ways and places, but I believe there's been a lack of direct communication about certain things. And so it's like an unspoken social taboo and these certain stigmas that loop. And the thing is it, and I'm just going to speak from the way I see it instead of like, trying to include everyone because I feel like I do that all the time. Everything's made of everything. So that's like what was coming up a lot when I was massaging those crystals. Everything is everything. And at this point where we are in linear space and time, although you could say in some models like Keylontics, time is stationary, but it is our consciousness that moves. And there are varying consciousness speeds, you could say. So what was I saying? Oh, I just forget what I was saying. Oh, I was going to say there's a lot of stigma and taboo within teachings as well. And again, whether it's religious or whatever, I have my own personal feelings and ideologies about all these things. And I won't go too deeply into that, but for the sake of what we're talking about here, like the essence of this space. And I feel like me even saying that, that's why I feel like I take a long time to talk, is because so many people in my life have been like, "What are you talking about?" Or like, "You are so crazy and weird." And I'm like, "No, we live in this holographic plane, a never-ending plane." And you could say it's like a flame, like a candle flame of density that is the earth plane where we are physical. So the closer to the wick or the concentrated part of that flame, it's different density, but the most dense you could say. And then it lessens as you move outwards. Now, because we're not here to talk about all the mechanics of what earth is, it's not that I want to talk about that, but I'm saying it isn't about a teaching. It isn't about marketing and advertising and including things, repeating them, making lists, making so many generalizations. No, this is like the example I like to give is like a little kid and these are my pants, but a blankie. Um this is my special blankie and I love it and I take it everywhere, or like a stuffed animal or just like a little trinket. um, I have like these finger massagey thingies. Ooh. It could be like, this is what keeps me safe. This is my friend. This is a portal to whatever. Like, you know what it's like, and especially if you can recall your earlier years, like when I was 15 months old, when you were 15 months old, before you were more impacted and influenced by the adults and environments around you. Beyond, yes, I don't know you all, so I don't know, depending on like, I remembered other bodies I had been in or other lives at age 15, and I was like, whoa. I also thought I was like 20 or more feet tall, and I still have issues like going down slides because I'm like, I'm gonna get stuck in there. I'm too big. I don't know. But we've all been impacted before we were even at school or whatever it is in different ways. And I believe that that is a big part of the collective aspect of being here. As an individual, how can you hold on or stay true to yourself, stay true to yourself, stand up for yourself in ways that you honor whatever that mission is for your own self. So it doesn't have to be so big, like what's your whole life purpose, but like kind of like what you're doing here. It doesn't have to be one thing, but like, hi, I am here. I mean, maybe you think I'm AI. I doubt you do. But like, we don't have to focus on all the things that suck, and we can slow things down and recognize that, like, we do have these individual identities, but we can only do so much about the collective sways. And yet, our belief systems are very affected from a young age in ways that we feel so constricted when it comes to stepping beyond them, to the point where things like quantum leaping can be enjoyable and real and fun, but then it also gets turned into these repetitive, perpetuated, repeated, I just said repetitive and repeated. Marketing even like like it's like, it's an interesting dance to be here and not just go along with like that's the way things are. You'll get it when you're older or whatever, because there's so many things here that I believe we can shift in certain ways, but so many people take time to just shit on other people or be like, I'm right, instead of this is how I'm working with the stuff, because we can all do what we want. Maybe not everyone should do what they want if it's things that I think are bad, but I'm not the ruler or controller of all. And so there's another dance of like, how do you shift certain things without making extreme categorical hierarchies where it waters down who we are as individuals, but maybe creates some perceived order in the collective, whatever that means, you know? So, dust, a part of what I'm saying is that like there's a lot of fear behind a lot of things as well. So like even me saying dust, it reminds me of how in like Keylontics, people will talk about being space dusted. Mind you, if you are familiar with those teachings at all, I only know them so much. It's just that those are the closest things to what I talked about from age 15 months onward, where I was like, do you guys remember being like, everything here before you got to this form? We've been like all of it. And then the dust is the high council. I would always say like everything I can see me too. And I would just say that to people in a way to say like everything is alive here. Everything speaks to us. And we don't have to believe that because in this way we are, not everywhere, but definitely for in my experience, let's say I'm just speaking from my experience. I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, in the United States. People by preschool called me the weirdest person they ever met and the weirdest person in Maryland. And that continued throughout my life. I wasn't able, like, you, I feel like you could say is the I like to pinpoint the terms that I'm repeating over and over. You could say, it's my vernacular today. You could say that when I found Keylontic Science in 2020 was when I was like, wait, I'm not crazy, but also this is a weird cult, kind of. I don't know. However, it was enough confirmation for me to go, whoo, I feel a little bit safer being my weird self in a certain way. And so, it was 30 years of my life, but from that 15 months period onward, that was 1989. So, yeah, like 28 years ish, you could say then. Um, I'm just taking off a little bit. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be me doing the maths of it. But what was I was gonna say something else there, and I'm not really remembering. I know I was talking about how in something to do with Keylontics, but there's the dogma of it where there is the hierarchy of like, hey, maybe you were like a speck in the ocean, and then you were every creature in the ocean, and then at some point you were every creature that flies, and then you were every creature that's a land creature. Like I know that sounds crazy. Or maybe you were a rock before all of that, and you were a tree, and you were a plant, and you were a flower, and we're everything everywhere. But in Keylontics, I know people will be like, if you don't do ABC and if you don't restore ABC, you'll go back to space dust. Or there's people who get mad at people and be like, space dust you. I'm not here to do any of that. But as a kid, I would be like, oh, the dust witnesses all. The dust, this is alive. Everything's alive. And it's probably the least considered entity in this plane when it comes to me saying my pen is alive and it's like I love writing, it's my job, but also it's whatever, we don't need to go into that. That's just how I live. So maybe you don't need to have the personification, but let's say part of the reason that people treat people a certain way with extreme criticism and dissociation and a numbing and wanting to stimulate certain parts of their subconscious to go, ooh, I'd rather feel this sensation than feel these emotions and these memories. And it's because of those deep memories of the collective that are not non-existent. But and I was going to do a reading for the new moon, so I'll probably come back in a couple days and do reading for Chiron or something like that and include some of that info that I wrote down because I talked about the hippocampus a little bit and some Neptune energy, and that's what I focused on in the grain of salt journey. So, okay. All of that to say that we have collective memories, we have individual memories. Some would say the physical features we gain from our parents are the ways that we carry that specific physical or emotional, mental memory from our ancestors, our family. I believe there's many dimensions to our memory, our conscious mind and memory, our unconscious or subconscious mind and memory. And I believe when people feel so deeply what is and has gone unspoken, it's triggering and then gets forced into a categorical hierarchy of someone being wrong or crazy or stupid or bad. And that's personal. So, okay, let me see what these cards are. Picture plan, insight. The answers are there for those who look. There's many different kinds of picture plans if you are unfamiliar. This one here is Saracenia Sai. I don't know if that's actually how you say it. I know this is like backwards, but you know. All right. This is from the Audacity deck. The last hurrah. That is how things feel. Like even me being like, I'm just gonna do a reading. And I know for someone else, they might be like, that's just how I do it. I would rather not be perceived. And when I do be perceived, I'm like, I want to plan it out a little bit because I am afraid of being perceived and being criticized. Spine. Oh, that's great. What does it say? When heavy gets light. White eagle. Ooh, ooh la la. This is the feather. The connection to divine guidance is within you. Everything is everything. And this isn't some woo woo, new age hippie bullshit. Like, no. Can you tell me how you got into a body? Do you remember any of the things you did before you got here? Why'd you come here? And if you don't remember, it's not that I think you're bad, but let's maybe open our minds a little bit before we're judging people based on feeling and thinking differently. Let's slow it down a little bit. Mind you, I can be reactive about certain things, but one of the coolest things ever is me going to somebody, hey, I know I can be reactive about some things if I am, or maybe even before. It's not about bypassing or coddling or enabling that behavior. It's that like the hypercritical energy is not necessarily the path, and it's not the one that I want to take for this ride to get to some kind of like bonding energy. Okay. This is funny. I meant to take these cards out because I don't necessarily want to use them. And so it's funny that they're in here. So these are the tea leaf ones. We have man, dealings or relationship with a man. Fair woman, dealings or relationship with a woman with blonde, gray, or white hair. But I have some ideas about that. Bouquet, compliments from an admirer. Hey, maybe I'm admiring you. Okay, so let me look at some of these decks and what they have to say, and then I'm just gonna wrap this up because I already talked for 25 minutes. Oh, and I opened it right to the page. It is triple X rated. The Last Hurrah. XXX. You see that tree in the background and this skeleton cowboy on his non-skeleton horse. I mean, I guess kind of looks interest okay, whatever. But there the lasso is tied to this tree. Okay, let's see though. Things are most I actually don't know if I mean, I think I've pulled this card, but not often. Things are most definitely not looking good, but that's not stopping you from going all in. You are ride or die, loyal and committed. Your friends can count on you to ride at dawn. The message here is you may be fighting a losing battle, but you're dragging your heels into your horse for one last yeehaw. Even when even when all signs point to plummeting to a swift death, you at least keep a good attitude about it. Your loyalty is admirable. I feel like part of what I'm trying to relate is a message from younger me, which this is baby first day of my life me. I've had that picture hanging there for over a year. And today I was sitting here and it slipped out of the frame. And I did make some shifts yesterday that I was like, but yeah, this message is not for everybody. I could have said that in the beginning, but you've already, well, you wouldn't, if you're here, you're here. I was about to say when if you've already clicked off, well, then they're not here anymore. Okay. Um, Not that things are actually going to get awful, but like really having to take a look at the habits and the ways that we are, and that the idea that if everything is alive, how are we treating everything here? Not in a hyper vigilant way where we're looking for ways to look for our failures and shame and blame, but maybe being like, it's okay to fail and make mistakes. And also, like, I'm someone who loves to talk to my cats. I mean, I'm always like, I could do better and I got to do all these things, but the way I talk to them and explain things is because I respect them and I don't want to just spring things on them. I know how aware and awake I was as a little kid, and people just treated me like I didn't know or understand things. And so things that don't have a voice or can't speak are still a part of this place. And mind you, that, yeah, it's crazy to people, but I really feel that when we are actually working with everything around us, let's say that it is a holographic space and that it is like we are the main character of how we're perceiving it, why wouldn't you see everything you see as looking back at you and being here with you in a certain way? What if part of the fear that exists here is because we forgot that to some degree? So things that we are perceiving as crazy or wrong or bad, or maybe in movies they've used certain noises or sensations to spook people, and it's but everything's really just working with you in a certain way, not the specifics of like you manifest everything, because like yes, but also like how long, if you really feel into how long have things been looping, we don't really know the full history of Earth. People rely on the oldest written records for things, and their storytelling existed beyond that. And so the idea that we actually know what's going on here, it's like, well, it's going to be jarring to continue to peel back the layers. And yes, me mentioning people turning things into marketing things and whatever, it's not that it's all bad or wrong. You know how people feel to you, but you know the people that are showing up, and it doesn't matter about how many followers they have necessarily. It's a certain archetype, it's a role they're playing to intentionally deceive people in a way where unless you really get to see the side of them that is authentically them, who knows who they really are. And I mean, at the end of the day, we really know ourselves the best. But when you treat things as everything being not just the dust, but the essence of all that is being conscious and spiritual and alive, I really feel like helps it helps make things make sense or quell the desire or rage of needing to understand something in such a logical way. Um, I don't know. Okay, so I don't know. What White Eagle. I love that White Eagle came out. That's freaking great. Okay. Okay, it's weird. That's weird. Where is it? Oh, okay. For some reason they're in the beginning. I feel like that's also another layers. Way back in the beginning. I skipped forward. It's not about linear time necessarily, but going back to some point. And for me, I'm calling upon 15-month-old you from 15-month-old me, or womb baby me to womb baby you. Eagle is the bird totem associated with spirit and is often seen as divine guidance and vision. The white eagle has a special connection to the angelic realm as a messenger of the divine. White Eagle calls us to our highest connection to source, to our soul's purpose and our service here on earth. White eagle tail feathers are commonly used in the headdress of Native American chiefs as the antennae to Great Spirit, and that connection demands great responsibility. When we are in service for the highest good, it is a call to follow our soul's true path here on earth. Pretty aligned, okay. The message here is the white eagle delivers the message that now is the time to come into alignment with your soul's unique purpose. We are all being called to awaken at this time and receive our divine inheritance. It is time to let go of fear, move ahead, and step into the power of your soul. Whether you are called to service through healing work or service to humanity, see your unique energy and contribution is vital to the shift now taking place. Expand out from where you stand and see if you can use your gifts to assist and guide those around you. I guarantee that not just being your authentic self is a part of this, but being fucking kind, not in some flashy performative way, but like considering the wholeness of another person, not projecting so many assumptions, but trusting yourself when you do feel a certain way about someone. That's good for everybody. Energies, soul purpose, highest vision, and power. Season is summer, fitting for those of us in the northern hemisphere. The elements are fire and air. The color is white, which it says here purity and healing. And the affirmation is I awaken to my soul's unique and divine purpose. And now the last card is the spine. If the spine image here were to show the whole spine from where it meets the at the axis and atlas and meets the skull, the cervical spine, the thoracic spine, the lumbar spine, and then you have the sacral and the coccygeal. And when you put it all together, it looks like an arrow. This is our arrow of truth. The spine has so many relations to carrying so many layers of depth and history and energies. Like, you know, our history is carried in our bones, but it's also beyond what anyone could tell you about. And it is you could say a ladder in and of itself. Oh, before I get to that, what I was going to say about the man and fair woman is you could just relate that to feminine and masculine energy. And then the fair one mentioned blonde, gray, or white, and that makes me think a little bit about like 12th dimensional energy, feminine energies. So dealings or relationship with a man or a woman in this regard, and then compliments from an admirer. I almost take this as you just like being kind to yourself. And I mean, I need to do that more. I'm pretty good at, like I said, the example. Well, I didn't say this, but can show up for everyone else, maybe not all the time for myself in a certain way. And my example is that I'm the ditch worker, where I am like holding something up and I'm like, you guys got this. Go that way. That way is the way to happiness or whatever you want. And hey, yeah, go that way. Woo, go you guys. And then I'm like, oh no, me, this is what I do. I just I just support from down here. That's my own journey to move past in relation to my own individual, collective, ancestral soul path and purpose and beyond. And you know, you could have a man or woman come into your life though, but I think the compliments from an admirer could come from your own self. Okay, so the spine. Mhm. Our spine is the central support for our body and reflects strength, resilience, and the ability to stand our ground while facing challenges. It shows us what we are capable of, and in relation to this, the term having a backbone is often used to describe someone who has the courage to stand up for their beliefs. It helps us find balance in life, encourages us to stay true to our values, shows our need for protection, and invites us to prioritize self-care due to our vulnerability to outside influences. If we carry emotional burdens or past traumas, our spine wants us to lighten our load by releasing them. Much like its flexibility, we should also remain open and adaptable, or more simply, try to go with the flow. To connect, reflect on how well do I know my core values? Get clear, get specific. What aspects of my life need more attention? What emotional weight am I carrying and how can I lighten my load? What blockages do I experience and how do I perceive my own strength? So I feel like I'm gonna do a short reading. This is short for me, I guess, when it comes to not planning it out. And that's why I try to plan things out and then it ends up being 5 hours long. So I hope you've enjoyed this, to whatever degree you're open to it in the capacity that you've had. And I'll talk to you soon.